Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our How to Buy Bank-Owned Homes webinar with David Hotchkiss and Mike Jamsta. My name is Kira, and I will be your host today. Your lines have been muted for the duration of the presentation. We'll be recording today's webinar, and we'll distribute the replay and the slides after the webinar. Let's go ahead and get started. We're very excited to have David and Mike take you through how to use auction.com to find, bid, and buy the right bank-owned home for you. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mike and David. You guys now have the ball.
Hi, thanks, Kira. My name is Mike Jamsta. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing for auction.com, and I've been with the company for about 8 years. I've actually been with the company before it was auction.com and watched the evolution of ballroom auctions to online auctions, and it's a really exciting time for investors and home buyers, and we're excited to jump into this. David?
Thank you, Mike. My name is David Hotchkiss. I'm currently the Director of Portfolio Management here at auction.com for bank-owned homes. Been working with auction.com for about a year or so now, but I was a client of auction.com and worked with auction.com for the better part of a decade. And like Mike, I've enjoyed seeing the evolution of this company and also the evolution of the buying experience in general for homes, moving from the traditional real estate when you have an agent and buy a house to now seeing how the internet has really changed how we shop for a home and now changing how we purchase homes as well.
Great, so let's go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about what we're going to go over today. We'll start with an overview of auction.com, basically a little bit of where we've come from and who we are today, and kind of where real estate is moving, where we think we're going to be tomorrow. Then we'll go over the bank-owned homes overview and kind of define what an REO is, what a bank-owned home is, and the different kind of varieties of it. We'll talk about how online REO auctions work, from registering for an auction and bidding for an auction and winning or deciding you don't want to win. Then we'll talk about how we find the right properties, what properties you're looking for, and how those properties can actually find you. It's leveraging auction.com's free online tools and reports to make sure that you're finding properties throughout the site.
And from there, we're going to talk about the keys to successful bidding. Bidding is not just knowing the price you want to pay for a property. Sometimes there's a little game to it, and we're going to go over the key ways that can ensure that you guys get the properties you want to purchase. After that, we'll talk about the post-auction process. What happens after you win an auction? What are the next steps? What are the things to expect? And how do you actually obtain your property that you've purchased?
All right, let's get started. Let's talk about auction.com. So auction.com is the nation's leading ballroom and online real estate marketplace. And actually, that's by a wide margin. Auction.com has really trailblazed the way auctions are conducted and how real estate transactions are going to be done in the future. And with the powerful combination of real estate domain expertise, auction experience, and marketplace technology, the founders of auction.com were world-class auctioneers. They conducted thousands of live auctions of properties, from land properties to commercial properties, and it's that expertise that helped develop the way the auction.com online experience is today.
We are a privately held company with over 900 employees throughout the U.S. We are headquartered in Irvine, California, and Silicon Valley. We also have offices in New York, Washington, D.C., Austin, Texas, Dallas, Miami, Atlanta, and Denver, Colorado. And over the years of our selling properties, we've now sold over $30 billion of real estate since 2007 on the auction.com platform.
And when we think about a residential standpoint, that's over 175,000 homes, and most of those are bank REOs, the types of properties we're going to be talking about today.
It is nice to see and look back and see all the change and momentum that auction.com has provided to the recovery of the housing market. It's very nice to be a part of that.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about REO properties. You want to take this one, David?
Yeah. What is an REO property, Mike? Well, an REO property is a bank-owned or real estate-owned property, commonly known as REO. And quite simply, it is one that has reverted to the mortgage lender after the home fails to sell in a foreclosure auction. So what does that mean in layman's terms? If someone has not paid their mortgage, the bank retakes over ownership of that property. It then becomes an REO. From there, they try to sell the property. And most of the time, properties are sold as is with no warranties of any sort.
And when you think about the term real estate owned, it's kind of an unintuitive phrase, but if you think about a bank and their financial statements, there's a line on there that shows profit and loss, and there's one line item on there that says real estate owned. That's their offices, and that's these properties that they've taken back from bad mortgages.
Plus, banks really like their acronyms. They try to confuse you at any chance they can get.
So where can we find these REO properties? I mean, obviously we want you to look at auction.com first. We have a large variety. I was on our site today and saw that there's over 6,000 REOs that are being auctioned in the coming weeks. And at any given time, there's thousands and thousands of bank-owned REO properties being auctioned on auction.com, among other types of residential properties and commercial properties. But at any time there's a bank-owned property, it's going to say bank-owned because that means that there's an institution that's selling this property, and any real estate agent or a site like auction.com, or if it's being marketed on Zillow or Trulia, they're going to say bank-owned, so you know that there's an unemotional seller in this transaction, and they're really looking to sell that property because banks don't want to own them. They want to lend money.
Couldn't have said it better myself. With the amount of REO properties available for sale all the time over the U.S., the Internet really is the best first tool to use to identify properties you want to purchase, and auction.com really does a fantastic job of labeling them, whether it's bank-owned, whether it's a foreclosure sale. So beginning your search at auction.com really is going to provide you some wonderful results.
So buying a property on auction.com, it's not like your average website that has a shopping cart, right? You can't just put a home into your cart and pay with your Amex. I mean, someday that might happen, right? But today you can't. But on auction.com, you'll find that it really is as easy as finding the right property, doing the research on that property, registering for the auction, bidding on that auction, and then winning. And so we like to say find, bid, and win, but there's a few other things that happen in between there. But it's a pretty easy formula for buying real estate and a lot more simplified than a lot of the traditional processes that have happened for hundreds of years.
You're right. Buying real estate no longer has to be a scary process anymore. Auction.com is really taking that daunting old experience of buying real estate and really made it a simple 1, 2, 3 process online. You can shop, you can purchase in a competitive environment, and you can close very quickly on our closing end as well. So it's very, very quick, very easy, and it makes me feel more comfortable buying real estate online with Auction.com versus going into the wild world of traditional real estate. I just feel much more safe knowing that everything is out in the open and transparent online with Auction.com.
Yeah, and that transparent is a key word there because when you think about a real estate transaction, you can make an offer on a property and then just find out that it wasn't accepted and you can't buy that house. But in an online auction, if someone bids $200,000 and the next bid is $205,000, you can buy that house. You can bid $205,000, or you can choose not to, and you can let that house go. But the power is in your hands, not in somebody else's. So it gives bidders the opportunity to buy a house if they choose to.
And one thing I also like about auction.com and the buyer experiences there is all the help. Typically when you're buying a property in a normal environment, you have one person you can ask questions to, the real estate agent. Well, if that person happens to be on vacation or taking care of another customer of theirs, well, then you're kind of out of luck for a while. But with auction.com, we have a team of people manning phones most of the day in our call center. And as you can see below, we have a link to the auction.com community where you can get help from auction.com employees and other buyers of auction.com properties as well. So there's a world of people to ask questions to and get an answer to in a very short matter of time, where on the other side, you might not get anybody on the phone for a couple of days.
That's true. I love the community. I post there all the time. So let's talk about these online auctions and a few of the things you really need to know. The auctions are conducted on weekdays, and that is by design. On the weekends, a lot of real estate transactions, people are driving around looking at real estate properties. People are busy. They have their life to take care of on the weekends, and so we've made these auctions on weekdays. Monday through Friday, there's auctions ending, thousands of them every week. To register for an auction, and you do have to register for a specific property on auction.com if you plan to bid on it, because we want every person that has the ability to bid to put down a deposit to be a qualified bidder. I mean, you don't want to be bidding on something against someone who's not going to plan to buy that property, or else, it's kind of the Wild West. So we make sure that all bidders are qualified bidders. And that means that you'll have to place a deposit. It's with a credit card. It's not a difficult thing. It's a hold on the credit card, and it depends on the amount depends on how many properties you're registering for at any given time.
And one thing I like to point out also is that hold on the credit card is wiped off within 24 hours of auction in, so it's not a true commitment of any dollars.
Right. No money comes out of any account. It's a hold, but it ensures that all players, they have their chips. They're dedicated, motivated people ready to bid on these homes.
In the end, it's really the best way to keep the kids off the computer buying houses. You've got to have some kind of barrier in there for them, right?
Exactly. And this is how auction.com gets paid. If we don't sell the house, we don't get paid. And so when the house does sell, there is a buyer's premium, and that's a standard thing in all types of auctions. The auctioneer, we're marketing these properties, and we're looking to get these properties sold for the various lenders, these bank-owned properties, and a 5% buyer's premium is added to some properties, but that can vary. Today, there's thousands of properties that have a $0 buyer's premium, and some that have a fixed $2,000 buyer's premium. So property to property, that's going to change. But in general, it's about a 5% buyer's premium or a $2,500 minimum. But look at the property that you're bidding on, and you might have a pleasant surprise if it's 0%, because that happens quite a bit.
That's the key to it all. Just please do your research before you make your bid to know the cost structure that you're entering, and that way you have every dollar and cent in front of you, and you make the best decision and the best offer at that time.
Right. And there's a million things that happen with real estate purchases, and that's because every real estate property is unique. There's a unique location, there's a unique size, there's a unique condition, and so there's different flavors of bank-owned properties. We're going to get into that in a second, but some properties may still be occupied. They've been foreclosed on, but the previous owner, or if it was a tenant, they haven't moved out yet. We're trying to bring as many opportunities to investors, first-time investors, and home buyers to the market as possible. And so you'll find properties on auction.com that do have occupants in it, which means you can't get an interior inspection. You can't disturb those occupants. You're going to have to bid on that property without going inside. But you can bid accordingly, right? And you can. That's what doing your due diligence is all about, and doing your research on these properties. And they'll be clearly noted on auction.com whether they're occupied or not. And some of the properties that are marked as occupied might just have a prior occupant's, junk in it. Might have some stuff that they left behind, but oftentimes people's previous belongings that they leave, those need to be evicted, and so the property be marked as occupied anyway. So going by the house, driving by, not disturbing any occupants that are in there, looking in windows. I mean, that's not allowed. That's trespassing. But those properties are on the site because they present a unique opportunity for investors.
I was about to build on that. Some people see that as a negative. I actually view occupied properties as a huge positive. When I'm shopping on auction.com, I actually start with occupied properties first, especially for investment purposes. I love buying occupied properties because typically you get to show up at the home and you might have a ready-made renter in the home already, which saves me on eviction costs, the time it takes for me to get someone in and get someone out, I save on that. So sometimes you can get lucky and you have a ready-made renter and you turn around 2 or 3 years later and that person ended up being the best renter you've ever had in your entire life.
Yeah, plus you can think that if a bank owns this property and they need to normalize it, they need to repair it, they need to evict someone, they're going to take less for that property. So they actually represent great investment opportunities. In addition, a lot of properties on auction.com are financeable. An occupied property isn't, because you can't get that interior appraisal, that interior inspection that your lender is going to need to pre-qualify you for a property. But if a home is vacant, a home is bank-owned, and it's not in terrible condition, it's likely financeable. And so getting your financing paperwork in order prior to bidding is highly recommended if you plan to finance a property. But there's lots of opportunities for home buyers, for first-time investors that are looking to get their first rental property or their second rental property, and for seasoned investors.
There's also a lot of new lending products coming on the marketplace right now. The banks have been scared to be creative with their lending styles since the crash of the early 2000s. But now that the economy is kind of restabilized, a lot of lenders and small businesses are providing loans on homes that maybe would have been financeable a couple years ago. So even though you view a home on auction.com and you might not think it's financeable, it's definitely worth your time to look up some local lenders or even national lenders and engage with them in a conversation and really find out what is financeable to them. Typically, the more money you put down, the more properties are financeable. You don't always have to pay full list price for the property, but if you and your bank can come to an agreement and maybe someone pays half and you pay half, those type of arrangements are abound right now. So if you see a property you like and the condition is questionable, I urge you to continue and begin to call local lenders in your area and just have a conversation and try to work through it.
Yeah, because they're looking to do deals, that's for sure. And there's a number of financing options these days with 3% down for home buyers and a little bit more for investors on first-time investments. It really depends on the price of the home, but there are a lot of lending options, and David's right. You should really explore. If you find a house that you want and it says it's not financeable, it may be through other means, but you need to do that research.
It really just depends on so many options. So you really need to reach out to the professionals before you make your conclusion on the financeability. And that really leads to the next section is the due diligence. You really need to read and understand all due diligence documents and transaction details prior to the auction. Auction.com provides all of those on the individual property web pages. And this is something that we as a company and myself personally is going to really stress to any buyer, and especially a new novice buyer of real estate. Due diligence or research prior to a purchase is the most important part of a real estate purchase. Actually closing and buying the home is the easy part. It's finding the home that meets your investment experience and your financing. That's really the difficult part. So the research you do up front is really going to determine how successful of an investor you are on the other end.
And that's one of the main things that people say about real estate investing is that you make your money when you buy your property. So you want to do as much research in advance so that you buy that property correctly. It'll give you the highest profit margin, whether you're planning to rent it, or whether you're planning to flip it, or whether you're planning to live in it.
Exactly. And to aid in your due diligence, that's pretty much what the Auction.com community is for. It's a buyer-centric network focused on helping other buyers meet other active buyers to gain that knowledge and experience. And go on to the community website and ask those questions that you don't know, and I promise you somebody will respond. And nothing is better than hearing from a person who has purchased from Auction.com before. They're going to have the expertise and that point of view that just cannot be provided anywhere else. So please, if you have any questions about a property, contact us directly through our phone number as well at the call center or at the link below in the Auction.com community.
All right, earlier we talked about auctions happening on weekdays, and this is kind of how we lay it out. And the way it was designed initially was geographically by day, so that investors that are in the South or in the West or in the Pacific Northwest and Hawaii and Alaska, all of those auctions would happen on the same day. But there's a couple of different types of auctions that are sprinkled in between. You can see at the bottom here on the sheet it says nationwide live qualifying events. And that means that a bank is basically going to be live on the phone watching the auction happen. And if the bid doesn't meet, we'll talk about this a little later, the reserve price that the bank set on one of those properties, the bank is there, the representative from the bank is actually watching the auction, and they can say, you know what, we'll take it, and it'll sell. So it might say reserve not met, but in these live qualifying events, there's someone from that bank participating in the auction and authorized to take less than their initial reserve amount. And those will happen Monday through Thursday. They're smaller events, they tend to be, but if one of your properties lands into that, it'll be one of these live qualifying events. And they can be in different regions on different days. So even though the Southeast and the Southwest are primarily on Mondays, and Southwest is also on Thursdays, there might be a property on Tuesday as well. So keep your eyes open. And all that information, again, as David said earlier, is on the property detail page, that one property page that has all the information tied to that specific property.
And of course, we are .com, so you don't have to maintain the schedule or the calendar hang on your desk. Of course, if you save a property on our website, we'll provide you email reminders of when the auction begins and when the auction ends. So as long as you are a registered user of Auction.com and you save any property to your favorites, you'll have no problem keeping track of when that property is up for sale and when the auction is.
Right.
All right. And now we're going to go into the types of REO properties. REO properties is sort of an umbrella term for several different types of properties. And the different types of properties really lend to the type of investor or buyer that you are. For example, we have vacant REO. Vacant REO really lends to a more novice buyer or maybe even someone who intends to live into the property. As you can see, it's no longer occupied. It's vacant, of course. Typically, we have open house dates. Those dates are available on the property website page as well. So you can actually view the home prior to the bidding. You can actually get inside the home, see if your family is going to be happy in that home, and really make a really good decision when you purchase that property. And in many cases, these are financeable. It's very easy to get a loan on a vacant REO property compared to an occupied property. You're going to get a more friendly rate. You're probably going to be required to put less money down as well. It's the easiest property to purchase for sure. And if you're an agent or if your friend is an agent, we have a broker co-op available on many of those properties, which means it's the commission that the buyer's agents get, which is the agent that represents the buyer in the transaction. We also have occupied properties. These could be in differing stages of eviction, or the bank could possibly not be pursuing an eviction. There could just be someone in the home, and they're just going to try to sell the home versus trying to upset that buyer or vacate the home or spend those dollars to vacate that property. Most of the time, there is no interior inspection available. I'll call that most of the time. Maybe 1 out of 100 will allow an interior inspection, but no on occupied assets. You're probably only going to be able to do a drive-by inspection. In most cases, these are not financeable by typical conventional lending. As we mentioned before, there are many, many different lending programs out there. So while they will not be conventionally financeable in the typical sense, there's typically always a lender matched to a property. You just have to do a little more research, and once again, the internet and the auction.com community are wonderful resources to find your lender. And as with vacant properties, you do have a broker co-op that may be available as well. And one overriding theory before I pass it over to Mike for the newly foreclosed properties is that these properties are owned by banks. They are always watching the almighty dollar. So they are motivated sellers. They do not want to hold on to these properties. Having said that, it doesn't mean you're going to buy a property for 50 cents on the dollar. That just doesn't happen anymore. But they are willing to listen to any strong offer. So even though you see a home and it might be priced in a place where it might not make you comfortable, I always implore anyone to at least make an offer on that property or at least inquire about it, because banks will listen to any strong offer, especially if the property has not sold for a certain period of time.
Yeah, David's right. I mean, the banks they're looking at dollars and cents. And the longer they hold the property, the more expensive that property is to them. You know, they're not generating a mortgage interest on those dollars. It's sitting in a house, and either the property is going down in value, it might be going up in value depending on the market, and that's changing across the entire country right now. You know, that happens every day of the year. But the longer a bank holds on to it, the more expensive it is. So they're looking at what their net present value is on that property. And that's just basically what's that property worth to me today versus a month from now if I spend some money on it, or a month ago because I didn't take somebody's offer. So they're ready to deal. They'd rather lend money than own homes. So let's talk about this third version. I like to say we don't have 31 flavors of REOs, we just have 3. And this newly foreclosed is something that's kind of in between a vacant and an occupied property. But when someone loses their home to foreclosure, there's a foreclosure sale, and those are conducted on the courthouse steps across America. In Florida, they're conducted online in the top 26 counties, and there are live auctions in Florida for the other ones. But once that home is foreclosed at that sale, there's a new owner, which is an investor, that buys it at that sale, or it goes back to the bank and becomes what we're talking about today, an REO. And a lot of times, our clients, and we work with the nation's largest lenders and financial institutions, they'll just pass that property straight to us, and we'll call it a newly foreclosed home. And these are likely occupied. They may require an eviction, but there won't be a lot of interior inspections on these. Most of the times, they're not going to be financeable with conventional financing. But depending on the lender who owns it, there'll be broker co-op, and select properties we have a 0% buyer's premium as well. So these are very attractive to investors because they're kind of fresh out of foreclosure, brand new to the market, and they're really exclusive listings that you'll see on auction.com first. And you have a very motivated seller that wanted to sell at a foreclosure sale, and it didn't sell, and they really want to sell it now.
Definitely, and we've set this up in a purposeful manner in terms of experience level. Now, all of these properties are not difficult to purchase. They just require a different level of due diligence, and you might be more comfortable with one than the other. Now, moving from left to right, vacant is by far the easiest, most simple transaction. We'll have the most information available, and you can usually get inside the property. Occupied, a little bit less. You know, we have a lot of information on the property. However, typically you cannot get inside, and lending is a little more challenging. And then we go over to newly foreclosed. Almost always occupied, very difficult to get into, and very difficult to get lending sometimes. However, it's a wonderful opportunity to provide a nice margin on your investment. There's a reason why it might be a little more real estate knowledge needed to operate that space, because there's a wealth of opportunity in that space as well. And so what we do at auction.com is help bridge the gap between these three different product types. We can take you from the vacant properties and go straight to the newly foreclosed properties by utilizing our auction.com community and utilizing the resources we have at auction.com. We're here to help you shorten that learning curve as quickly as possible.
And the other thing to think about is the type of deed or title that's going to come with these different types of properties. When you look at vacant, you'll likely have a special warranty deed or an easier deed to get title insurance on.
Which is just like the ones we get when I would sell my home to you, a very traditional general warranty deed.
Yeah, and then as you get into occupied and newly foreclosed, there might be a quick claim deed or something of that nature, but that comes down to doing a little bit of research and knowing what you're bidding on. But we're not trying to make it sound too difficult. Anyone can buy these homes. You can figure out ways to do it. It comes down to just spending a little time, and some of the properties you're going to get better deals on are going to take a little more research and a little more elbow grease to churn higher profits out of.
But at the end of the day, just give us a call. We'll walk you through it very easily.
All right, so let's figure out how we find these properties. We're going to tell you some really basic sounding stuff right now, but we want to make sure that we're being as clear as possible. Everyone's seen a search bar on a website. We have one on our site as well as soon as you land on that home page, and you can type in by city, by state, by county. It'll start to autofill in there. I mean, you type in Las Vegas, and there's Las Vegas, Nevada, and there's Las Vegas in other states as well. And it'll let you select those cities and take you to all the properties we currently have based on that search criteria. And you want to make sure you're starting on the residential tab here. You'll see it says residential, commercial, and notes. So you'll be searching within residential, and if you were to type in, Las Vegas, Nevada, it'll show you all of the residential properties we have in Las Vegas, Nevada, the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, not the county, Clark County for Las Vegas. And that'll include foreclosure properties and bank-owned REOs and every different flavor of residential. Let's go to the next slide. And then you can start to filter down. You'll get your list of homes. As you can see here, this top one in the middle shows that this one is financing available. Right there next to the starting bid. Every one of these houses has a little star, so when you're logged in, you can click that and it'll add it to your favorites. But once you click on this button up here that says More Filters near the top, near the search bar, let's go to the next one. It'll pull down a menu, and you can start to filter down. And here is where you can click the Financing Available button on the very right. It'll show only the properties that have financing available. You can choose how many bedrooms and bathrooms and things of that nature.
And the one function I want to point out as well is if you guys will look to the very far left of the screen, right next to the word 9 properties, we also have a map icon. I love to search properties in a more visual format to see a map so I can see the neighborhood where the homes are located. And I think everyone's pretty familiar with this view as well. It's just like Google Maps, for example, very similar style to that. It just allows you to see where these homes are located within the city of your desired shopping radius.
And when you click on a property, it'll take you to, this is what we were talking about before, the property detail page. This is the home base for the property you're looking at. It has all the documentation, it has the auction dates, it tells you if it's financing available, all the information about it. You see the transaction details here on the left in the middle. That'll show you the basic terms on the deal. If you click into the documents, there'll be every type of release and documentation that we have available. On the top right, you see the star. That's where you can save it to your favorites so you can easily find it next time you come to auction.com. And in this box where it shows reserve not met and a $200,000 price mark, that appears once you've registered for the property. If you haven't registered for this auction, it'll just say, there'll be a button there that says register. But when the auction is actually occurring, it'll show you what the current bid is, right there in that box.
And two things I'll look to point out, and first and foremost, please sit on the screen for a while and just absorb all the information. Become familiar with it. The more easily you can read information from this page will make your due diligence that much easier when you're working for their website. But two areas I like to point out that I use all the time is the very center of the page and just to the right of that, In the center, you'll see a Chase logo. This happens to be a property where Chase is probably going to offer financing. So on a lot of our pages where a property is financing available, we do have partner companies, and we will place a link on that property. This is an example of where you could click on this and apply for a loan through Chase, and they will very quite potentially give you a loan and give you very friendly details or very friendly terms for this property. And then to the right of this is the listing agent information. No one is going to know more about the property today than the listing agent on the home. So if you have any questions, please reach out to the listing agent. They're motivated to help you out. They are customer service professionals. They actually live near the property, so if you do not live in the city of the property you are shopping in, they can provide that local knowledge about school systems, where the railroads are, if it gets loud at night, what the weather is like, is this a good rental market. They can provide that neighborhood information that sometimes you can't get when a home is 4 states away. So two very important things. It's very low-hanging fruit in terms of financing right in front of you with some of our business partners, and then also the listing agent who can provide that local knowledge that really helps make decisions when buying real estate.
So we talked a little bit about financing on REO properties, and we showed where financing available, and David talked about how you can click through Chase to get pre-qualified for financing. But we do very much recommend that you do get pre-qualified prior to bidding in the auction. And make sure that you know what your bidding limits are, because that's going to be an open window for you. You register for the property, you put a deposit down. You need to know what you think this house is worth and what your loan, pre-approval or pre-qualification is going to allow you to bid up to. And like David talked about different types of financing, there are things called hard money loans and lines of credit, and they may be acceptable on cash-only properties, but sometimes they're not on financeable properties, so that's something that you want to check with customer service on through the number that's posted on our site. Just to make sure that you're bidding on something under the same understanding that the seller is selling it.
And with financing, I always have the same advice or story to buyers, and that is consult with the professionals. Your neighbor and your father-in-law do not know what the current lending guidelines are or what underwriters are looking for. The only people that truly know what the current lending environment is are the people giving loans. And so I would not rely on your friends or an acquaintance or a person who was a loan officer 14 years ago to provide advice on what type of loans are available today. Bottom line is you really have to call your local lenders or national lender. There's tons out there. You can go into any search engine, type in home lending. You'll get several pop-up ads immediately onto your browser. But you really have to talk to professionals. Be honest with them in terms of your personal criteria, and they will give you an honest answer back if the home is available or not. And to build on Mike's statement, please do this before you make an offer on a home. You wouldn't go buy groceries before you knew how much money you had in your pocket. So it's always wise to see how much money you have before you go to buy something, and it just makes for a better experience. And you don't want to make an offer on a home and get to the contracting phase and not have the money when there could have been a very deserving family who wanted that home, and now they missed out on it for another week because you took it off the website because you accidentally purchased the property.
Yeah, and there might have been another property that you missed out on because you were looking at the wrong value band.
Exactly. So the hard and fast rule of financing, always ask the professional.
So we talked about having an auction.com account when you're logged in and when you're registering for these auctions, and we do need to know who's bidding on these houses. And you can create a free account at auction.com. It doesn't cost anything to register on auction.com, to use any of our free tools on the website, to research properties. We don't charge anything except for the homes. You want to buy a home, you got to pay for it. But creating a free account has a lot of benefits. It allows you to save those properties like we talked about. It also allows you to create email alerts so that the homes that you're looking for can find you. It gives you that auction dashboard where you save all your properties. You can register for events. The account really opens auction.com to you, and it's at no cost. So even if you're kicking tires and thinking about investing, create an account, get in, look at all the due diligence material, create some alerts, sign up for some email notifications. We have all sorts of resources at your fingertips.
To me, this is a no-brainer. I think we all purchase stuff online with different companies, different websites. Think about every time if you purchase something from your favorite online retail website, you had to retype in your address, retype in your name, retype in your email, retype in your credit card. It just makes sense to save the work and create an account, be able to utilize the dashboard which keeps track of all your purchases, where those properties are in the closing cycle. And the thing that I like the most is the email notifications. Trying to keep track of all these properties in all these states manually would require a chalkboard or a spreadsheet, where I can simply just save the property and receive the email notifications when I want to receive them and monitor my properties that I'm interested in that way. It just, I can't find the negative for it. It takes 2 seconds, costs me nothing, and all it does is save me time and energy.
In addition, we are a technology company, and so the areas that you're searching in and the homes that you're saving, like that allows us to customize the emails you get so the most relevant information is hopefully being sent straight to you.
And that's what I like about Auction.com. We don't send too many emails. We won't fill up your inbox. We only send very targeted emails about areas and properties that you're interested in. So don't worry about the spam effect of this email notification. It truly is a tool for you to keep track of the properties that you're interested in and only interested in.
And so when you do create that account, right at the very top corner of the website is where you log in. You click that button, and that's where you enter your email address and the password you create, and it takes you right into your dashboard. And inside the dashboard, you can create email alerts. Anytime you make a search, you can create an email alert for that. Where I live in Orange County, California, I can type in Orange County, and I can filter it down to bank-owned homes, and I can look for properties that have 4+ bedrooms, and then I can save that alert. And anytime a property that's listed in Orange County comes in under that criteria, I'll get a notification. I'll be the first person to know, so that I can start doing my research the moment it hits the market.
It really is a great tool, and as I said before, allow us to do the work. We'll bring the properties to you. You stay on your couch, just pop open your iPad, and we'll show you what's available in your area.
Yeah, let that home find you.
And speaking of the dashboard, this is also, once you become an active buyer on Auction.com, this really is one of the key benefits of becoming a member of the website, not to mention the unfettered access to our help center. But the dashboard really is the most important thing. It just allows you to keep track of your properties. A real estate purchase is not a small thing. You'd like to be able to wake up in the middle of the night and check on the property and make sure it's still there. This dashboard allows you to maintain in contact with the process. Once you purchase it, it shows up in here under your Save Assets and through the bidding, and also follows the property through the closing process. You'll receive a milestone notification every time the status of your property changes. You'll also receive an email as well. This really helps you just feel safe and more confident in your real estate purchase and ensure that everything is happening according to your timeline.
All right, don't worry, we're not going to read through this whole thing. But there are some keys to successful bidding, and this is something that you should probably review after watching the webinar. But as we said before, buying real estate, it can be a complicated process, and we've done our best to streamline and simplify the real estate buying process. And there's a little bit of legal mumbo-jumbo in here, but as we said before, you want to save properties to your dashboard so you can easily find them next time you log in. If you have an agent, your agent and you both have to register for that property so your agent can get paid. Your agent, having a real estate agent to help you through a real estate buying process is a tremendous benefit. And on the Properties Offer Broker Co-op, we encourage people to have an agent help them buy that house, and with an agent registering on Auction.com alongside with you, that ensures that they'll get paid their commission. Go ahead.
So this always reminds me of the old 80s PSA commercials, the more you know. And the bottom line is the more you know, the more successful you'll be at bidding on Auction.com. It always goes back to my due diligence. Research, learn as much about the homes and the neighborhoods, the neighbors, the agent on the property. Learn as much as you can about the homes, and you will quite simply be more successful at bidding.
That's true. There's a couple of things in here. If you look at the bottom bullet on the right, it says a property may be sold subject to seller confirmation. That is a really unique thing that Auction.com started. And as you can imagine, real estate properties can hold tremendous value. and a bank or an institution or even a private seller, they're really looking to kind of maximize what price they can get on those real estate properties. But if they've overestimated what their reserve is, I mean, they're not going to sell a house for $1, right? So a bank will set a reserve, and they're hoping it's an aggressive one because, like we said, banks don't want to own homes. They want to lend money. If that reserve isn't met and there's activity, auction.com can, through our discretion, sell it subject to seller confirmation and go to that bank on your behalf and say, hey, look, it got to this, you should take it. And the bank can decide to take it, or they can decide to auction it again. But either way, if the bank does accept that subject to, you've probably got a very good deal on that house.
And to not scare anyone away, this is very similar to when you purchase a property in the old days as well. You submit an offer to a seller. They have 24 hours to think about the offer. It's the exact same process. We just do it on a much larger scale with banks.
Right.
But not to mention, not every property is subject to. Some properties are absolute sold, meaning if you eclipse the reserve with your offer, it's your property. But some of them, most of them might be subject to, so be patient. And once again, please review the details on the property page of that asset. It'll tell you exactly if it's subject to or not.
And, each property can have a different purchase and sale agreement, and that's just because each bank or financial institution will have their own kind of shade of gray on the terms, and so you need to review those documents carefully, but we standardize the documentation, so that really streamlines the process and makes it a much more efficient sale process, and we also try and close each property within 30 days. So that you're not, spent there waiting for the property to close. The bank's not waiting for the money to fund. We are managing the closing process. We use escrow and title companies across the nation, literally hundreds of them, to make sure that all local regulations are met so each property closes in a quick and efficient manner.
And as always, at the end of the day, please use the auction.com community or contact auction.com directly and have us walk you through and assist you to help you understand all these keys to successful bidding. We really want to make sure that everyone has a very, very friendly and successful time on auction.com, and we'll provide as much advice and pointers as we can, so please utilize the resources we provide. It really will make your experience as good as possible.
So now that you're the winning bidder, you've gotten that house, you've done your research, you're the high bidder, let's talk about the post-auction process. When the auction ends, within 2 hours, we ask that you sign the purchase agreement, and it's through DocuSign. It's a digital documentation that gets emailed to you. If you haven't used that on a real estate transaction in the past, it's super intuitive. The purchase and sale agreement gets emailed to you. Someone from our team likely is calling you to see if you have any questions, and then you open the document in your browser, and you literally click with the mouse and start signing the different addendums and entity docs, and within literally minutes, instead of what used to take days and sometimes weeks with FedEx and mail and notaries and all those things, you're on your way to opening closing.
And this really is an example of where auction.com changed the real estate industry as a whole. A lot of other smaller companies and traditional real estate companies are now copying this process where you can sign a contract electronically with DocuSign. So this really is an example of how we've made the process faster, easier, and cheaper for everyone involved, and how it's really becoming commonplace in the marketplace.
The next step is seller approval, and this is really tied to what we talked about, subject to property selling subject to seller confirmation. Oftentimes that document that's going in is going to have a number less than what that reserve amount was, and if the seller approves it, you're on your way to closing. And if not, it's going to reopen and you'll have another chance to buy that house. And what happens over time is that if a house doesn't sell once, twice, 3 times, sellers start to get the notice that we might need to lower a reserve on this. So just like any complicated, high consideration purchase, you might have to wait until next week to bid on it again if it doesn't go through. But when we push a sale through for seller confirmation, it's something like 75 or 80% of the time it's accepted by the seller. We have a lot of experience with these sellers. We won't sell it subject to if we don't believe the bank's not going to take it.
But we know the people listening to this webinar aren't going to have that experience because they're going to do all their due diligence. They're going to sign their contract very quickly, and they're always going to get an approval. That's the benefit of listening to our webinar. And so once you have the seller approval, you move into escrow. Very simple. It's the exact same escrow we've always heard about as kids. This is the exact same type of closing environment that traditional real estate closes in. So this is when we exit the electronic environment and we now enter the regular traditional closing process. Your contract is sent to an escrow company. Your earnest money deposit is also sent, and they will contact you to schedule a closing within about 30 days of the auction end.
And again, if you have any questions or you want to comment about an experience that you had on the website, please go to the auction.com community. It's at community.auction.com, or you can go to the help button on the top of the website and click that and click the word community. There's hundreds and even thousands of posts that first-time investors, home buyers, seasoned investors, real estate agents, brokers have asked questions. Our customer success team has answered every post that's gone in there. I've personally answered 30 or 40 myself, and there's a wealth of information and a wealth of people that will help you. In addition, we have a customer service line that's posted on the website. It's open, business hours on the West Coast, and we have people that can help you through the process. And then these last slides at the end, we put some additional information. We talked a little bit about different types of deeds: a quitclaim deed, a special warranty deed, general warranty deed. These are things that you hear, but you might not know what they are. If you want to read through these, it tells you kind of what each one of these are. And then there's a glossary of terms. And that's all we have. Anything else, David?
I think you summed it up very well. Utilize the auction.com community. There's no other place where you have active auction buyers, novice buyers, and professionals from the company in one spot providing advice. It's very unique, and I highly recommend all future buyers and current buyers of auction properties leverage that.
All right. Thanks for attending, and let's start bidding.
That was fun. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Bye.
Great. Thank you, Mike and David, for your time today. We hope that this webinar helps you use auction.com to effectively search, buy, and select the right REO home for you. Thank you all, and we will be back with another webinar at some point in the future.